Hi, Jack Canfield here again, and we're going to be interviewing James Malinchak today on Taking Action, which is our theme for this month. James is a star in the new reality TV show on ABC called The Secret Millionaire. He is one of the premier speakers in the world, great speaker, both motivational and informational, and really teaches people how to become top money-earning speakers, millionaire speakers. And I've been to a couple of his seminars. I've both spoken there and sat in the audience and learned so much from him. And when I think about someone who is an amazing get-it-done guy, someone who takes action and makes results happen, James Malinchak came to mind as the top of the list. So I'm really glad to be here with you today, James, and we're going to have a great interview.
I appreciate being here. Anything I can do to help folks.
Thank you. You know, as I said, you are the get-it-done guy. And what is it? Teach us. Tell us how you get so much stuff done. I mean, you are an action-oriented guy. How do you make all that happen in your life?
You know, one of my favorite quotes, I heard it a long time ago. It's by legendary copywriter Gary Halbert. He said, "You always accomplish more through movement than through meditation." You know? And you can't just think about things. And I understand the law of attraction, and I understand putting intention out. But bottom line, in order to accomplish things, you've got to do something. You've got to get it in motion. And I have 3 principles that I live by that I always tell to people when I'm coaching them or when I'm speaking on stage, and it's real simple. And these 3 principles guide my life, and I try to make them the foundation of anyone I'm helping. It's mindset. It's not positive thinking. It's not this wishful, pie in the sky stuff. It's actually mindset. You got to train your mind to think in a way of getting things done. So it's mindset, it's skill set, and then it's get off your assets. So you have to have the right mindset of thinking and training your mind in order to produce fast results. I believe the universe rewards speed. So you've got to focus on, especially if you're running a business, you've got to focus on speed and results. So training your mind to think that way. Number 2, you've got to get the right skill set. Just thinking about it isn't going to cut it. So you've got to get the right skill set and master that skill set so that you not only cut your learning curve in half, but cut it like by 90%. Because when you master a skill, have complete mastery over a skill, I mean, it becomes simple. And it sounds sort of weird, but I've trained people to make $1 million where the first time it was tough. It's like getting the ball over the net in tennis. The first time it's tough, but once you know the skill set and how to do it, you can go out and make $1 million pretty easily if you're mastering that skill set and in that skill set. But that's not enough, because then you've got to get off your assets. You got to do something about it. So it's mindset, skill set, get off your asset, and I just trained myself to think that way and to always, no matter which situation, and this is what I try to share with folks, whatever situation you're going after, whatever situation you're in, just let those be the framework that guides your entire process. So do I have the right mindset? Do I have the right skill set? Have I honed my skills? And then what am I doing? Because if you've got the right mindset and skill set, but you're not getting off your assets, it's incomplete.
So when you look at a mindset in relation to taking action, and you're working with people, you train people, and you have coaching students and all that, how do you shift people out of a hanging out, not getting it done mindset? What does a get it done mindset look like? How do you move people into that?
Well, the one thing I'm usually helping folks with is their business. So if they come to my house for a consulting where I do all of my consulting, there's a sign right behind my desk. If you and I were sitting right now in my office, there'd be a big sign behind my desk, and it says, "What's your most important business question?" And then the answer is, "What's the fastest way to the cash?" And it's a very fun way of saying focus on ROI, focus on the result, focus on bringing in money for your business. You are not in business to run a business. You're not in business to pay employees. You are in business to produce revenue so that you can have the financial freedom to live your life the way you want to live it each and every day, doing what you want to do. So in any business we're in, okay, if you're not focusing on what's the fastest way to the cash, then you're wasting your time. So one of the ways I get folks from focusing on just thinking about it and doing it is you always got to stay focused on the core reason why you're doing it, especially when it comes to business. Even nonprofits have to get to the cash or they're out of business. And it's a funny way to remember, focus on the bottom line. If I said just focus on the bottom line, right over your head. But if I say what's the fastest way to the cash, I mean, I have people that come up to me in airports and go, "Hey, what's the fastest way to the cash?" So I always say stay focused on that core fundamental, and that will get you out of the thinking mode, because we all have great ideas. And I also have an acronym, STI, Stop the Ideas, and get moving and put them in action. and don't have so many incomplete circles. You know, we all start something here, and then we start something else, we start something else, we start something else, and we got all these open circles. Finish a circle, then move on to the next one. Finish that circle. So stop the ideas and stay focused on getting things done, completion. We don't have a to-do list. We have an incomplete list. Okay, things we started thinking about, ideas we started doing, and next thing you know, you wake up one day and you got 47, you think, to-dos, but they're really incompletes because we all started them.
So let me take you on a little sidebar here, because I know mostly you work with entrepreneurs and speakers, people who are solo entrepreneurs. And what if I'm an employee and I'm watching this? I work for someone else, and it's all about getting things done. And the mindset for that was my boss is kind of determine what I need to get done. But I know people, I've seen people in their offices that work for other people, and there's piles of this and piles of that and all kinds of things they haven't got done and to-do lists. Well, what would you say to that person?
Yeah, I just covered this in a new book I wrote called Rich is More Than Money.
Well, I set you up, didn't I? I didn't even do that on purpose.
No, you didn't even know. But it's Rich is More Than Money, the lessons I learned being a secret millionaire that will transform your business, leadership, and life. And I write about this, that you always, number one, have to buy into the mission. What's the overall mission of what you're doing? So as a leader, you have to get your employees to understand the mission. And then as an employee, you need to understand what is the overall mission of what we're trying to accomplish. And in my book, there's only one reason you are in business and one mission for every business, and that is to serve the customer well. Take care of people. So come from a place where we're serving people, we're trying to do what's best in the best interest of the person, whether even if you're dealing with a boss. How do you serve your boss to the greatest value to where they love you and they talk about you? Most people just kind of do the status quo. So always go the extra mile, always go above and beyond, and come from a place where I'm just serving people, whatever I could do to help. And don't expect anything in return. Just do it because you know it's the right thing to do. It's a mindset. You got to train yourself to start thinking that way. And then skill set. You got to start practicing it.
Let's play with the mindset just one more second, because a friend of ours, you know, Wayne Dyer, wrote a book called It's Not Crowded Along the Extra Mile.
Right. Yeah, right.
And most people don't do the extra mile. Most people that are employees think of themselves as employees. They think of themselves as somebody who is working for someone else. And I think one of the things I've learned, and I'd be curious to your point of view about it, is that you're always working for yourself, even when you're working for someone else in a job. Because you need to brand you as the guy who gets things done, the guy who does the extra mile, who is willing to go out there and do whatever needs to get done to get the job done, rather than someone who's punching a clock. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. I always say you write your own paycheck. It doesn't matter who signs the check. I mean, you're writing your own paycheck for whomever you work for. And, you know, I look at my own company when I'm looking at who I'm going to give an unexpected bonus to. I'm always giving the unexpected bonus to the person who went above and beyond and didn't have to, didn't expect anything out of it. So people notice. I mean, when you're an employee and you're working for someone, if you think an employer doesn't notice that you cut out 15 minutes early or that you stayed 15 minutes later, it's those little things. You know that line, little things mean a lot? That is a bunch of BS. Little things don't mean a lot. Little things mean everything to people. It's those little things that give you the big payoff. It's, you know, doing an extra 15 minutes, even though you're supposed to get off of work at 5, let's say, and staying an extra 15 minutes to make sure the customer was served or that the project was done that day instead of moving to tomorrow. It's those little things, and the littlest thing will give you the biggest payoff.
You made another good point I want to underscore, too, for anyone that's listening to this who's a manager or if you're a entrepreneur. You talked about the unexpected bonus. That's something you do. And when you're bonusing somebody, if you want people to be more action-oriented, bonus them when they take action, or whatever other behavior you want from the people that are working for you. In other words, reward what you expect. And a lot of people don't do that. They expect it, don't reward it, and then wonder why it doesn't keep happening.
Yeah, as a manager, as a leader, you have to do that. And it could be the littlest thing. It could just be simply saying, great job, Jack. I'm proud of you. Thank you so much. You made a difference for us. That's it. That's all it takes. Because if you read the research studies, the number one thing people want is recognition, more so than money. They want to be recognized for doing something that they didn't have to do. They want to be acknowledged for it. And have you ever gotten a thank you note?
Of course.
I have. You've been in my house. You come in my house. I've got them up in my game room.
I've been in that game room. We played pool. I remember that.
Oh, man, you're going to bring that up again. You kicked my butt. You're a pool shark.
I know, but you beat me in basketball, so it's okay.
Well, I had to raise my self-esteem back up. But those thank you notes mean everything. I learned this from legendary UCLA coach John Wooden, basketball coach. I had the opportunity to have lunch with Coach Wooden at his house. And I spent 4 hours, and I played high school and college basketball, so this is like a dream come true. And he told me stories about UCLA and coaching all the big guys and the stars, and this was just amazing. It was like one of the greatest things I've ever done, being a basketball nut. So about 3 days later, in my mailbox, I get a thank you note from Coach Wooden, thanking me for allowing him to share stories about something that he loves. Now, he did more for me than I did for him. I was so amazed that he let me come to his house and talk to him, and he sent me a thank you note. And that's what got me in the habit of sending notes to people, appreciation, recognition. Here we are some 12, 15 years later, I'm still telling the story.
Well, this is an action that I teach too, which is to say thank you. I was a consultant to Keller Williams, the real estate company, and they have this, what they call 5, 10, 15, 5 rule. You have 5 live meetings during the day, 10 calls, you send out 15 handwritten thank you notes, and then you'd go view 5 properties, so 5, 10, 15, 5. But George Bush, who we have a story in one of our Chicken Soup books, George Bush Sr., he was known for sending out handwritten thank you notes. There's something about handwritten that's really powerful. You know, the person stopped and took the time. So that's an action that everyone can take that really gets a lot done. So let's delve into mindset. Or we just did that. Let's delve into skill sets and talk about skill sets a little bit.
Okay. I believe all the knowledge is out there. I believe anything you want to accomplish. Here, Jack, go like this. It's all out there. You just got to go grab it. Okay? If you want to be a great speaker, there are trainings out there. If you want to improve your personal life, there's your amazing stuff. I'm in Las Vegas, and I've been buying commercial real estate over the past few years, commercial dirt. And I don't know anything about dirt and real estate, and although it makes you dirty, that's all I know. You get dirt on you, it makes you dirty. So, but I was fortunate enough to see this area where they're going to start building and adding 20,000 some homes. So years ago, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, man, they're going to put all these homes out there. Well, they need doctor's offices, they need video stores, they need coffee shops. If I own the dirt, then they have to buy from me, or they have to lease the space if I put up buildings. So I went out and started buying all this commercial land. Then I thought, well, how can I leverage this? This is a part of taking action. How can I leverage this? How can I turn this idea, and I call it spider webbing. How can I do this and go, so like when you're driving on the freeway in your car and a pebble hits your windshield, you get that little nick, right?
Then it starts to spider out. Yep.
So I call that spider webbing. How do you leverage one little thing? How do you spider web it into 10, 20 income streams for yourself, or 5 or 3? So here I've got this dirt, and it was going to be about 4 or 5 years before they actually start building out there. So I'm thinking, man, how do I leverage this? How do I spider web it? How do I start making money off of it while it's just sitting there? And then it hit me. When they start moving out the trucks to start building in this area, they got to store the trucks somewhere. And they've got to store the pipes and the fence and all that. So where would they pick? How would they choose which parcels of land? Well, the ones that have utilities on them. So I started investigating, well, how do I get utilities? How do I get, electrical lines? How do I get water and sewage? And I didn't know anything about it, but, you ask enough questions, eventually you get to the right people. And so I found this company, and we're going to do all this, and we started doing it.
Let me slow you down for a minute. I want to underline that with like a highlighter. If you ask enough people, they'll lead you to the right people.
Yes, sir.
So one of the actions that you got to take is when you want to do something you don't know anything about it, start investigating, taking action, asking. A lot of people, I think, would be afraid to just kind of go out there and look ignorant. Right. Talk about that for a minute.
One of my favorite quotes is from a college basketball coach, Rick Pitino. He says, everything I've learned about winning, I've learned from losing. And I've learned from failing. So it's just a part of the process. That you're going to bump into walls, you're going to fail, you're going to be clueless on certain things you're trying to do, but that's part of the process. And this is how I try to get folks from the mindset to the skill set to the taking action, is it's part of the process. Just accept it. When you started writing books, you didn't know how to get a book published.
No, I had no clue.
I didn't know how to get a speaking engagement. I had no clue about all this. It's just part of the process.
Okay.
You ask enough people, ask enough questions. When you commit to it, and you cut off that I'm not going to quit, I'm going to get it done. I always say, take the T out of can't. I'm going to do it. It's not that I can't do it, I just don't know how to do it, but I'm going to do it. So when you say that and you take the T out of can't, failure is not an option. They're just learning experiences, and that's what shifts in your mind and your spirit. I didn't fail, I learned. This is just part of the process. I'm taking a step.
Okay, so now we got utilities on the land, or we're getting close.
So I get this company, and I say, I want to dig some water wells. And they tell me how much it was. It's pretty expensive, but I'm committed. I already took the T out of can't. Right? I'm taking action. Focusing on the mission, the end goal, which is to get utilities. And so the guy calls me up after he's drilling. He goes, hey, I got some bad news. I said, what's that? I drilled down about 700 feet, no water. I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means. He said, well, it's going to be about another $20,000 if you want me to go deeper. I'm thinking, all right, well, how do I turn it into a positive? At least I didn't break the drill bit. I didn't have to pay for a drill bit. So I said, go ahead. We already started. We might as well go. So he calls me up about 3 or 4 hours later. He goes, I got good news and bad news. I'm like, oh, man, I know I got to pay for a truck and a drill bit because I broke it in half. I said, well, what's the bad news? He goes, I went down about 1,000 feet, no water. I'm like, okay, so I just lost all this money. And he goes, no, the good news is I decided to go to about 1,200 and then I was going to quit. At 1150, I hit water. I'm like, oh, cool. He goes, no, that's not even the good news. He said, the average well will pump about 20 gallons a minute. Yours is pumping 200. And I said, okay, I don't know what the heck you're talking about, but it sounds good. He goes, well, basically, you might have your own water company on your hands. And I'm like, so what does that mean? He said, well, you can probably supply water to like over 1,000 homes and businesses. Now, I don't know anything about utility rights. I don't know anything about water rights, but ask enough questions and you'll find an answer. So I started asking around, who's the best utility attorneys? Who knows how to leverage and spiderweb water rights? And for the past few years, I've been learning about water and utilities. So we're about to possibly have our own water company on our hands. And it all came from that one idea. I have an idea, and how do I take action and leverage it and spiderweb it into multiple income streams?
Very cool. If I need some water, I'm going to give you a call.
And my water will be the best because we'll go the extra mile for it.
I'm sure it will. Well, you did. It is a metaphor there because you kept going. You didn't quit. And you found something. And the deeper you go, I teach this in meditation, the deeper you go, the more wonderful the gold is when you get there.
Oh,
so
sure.
You got water that was under high pressure down there. So you have a phrase, get stuff done fast.
You got it. GSDF, buddy.
Can you talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, I like to do things so that I can remember them and people can remember them. It's actually a marketing tactic. This is what I teach when you're branding and you're positioning yourself, is you need to create catchphrases. Like if I said, make my
day.
Okay, now that I believe was in a movie by Clint Eastwood
yep.
back in the 70s.
Right, Dirty Harry.
Dirty Harry. When was the last time you watched that movie?
Oh, God, the 70s. Sure.
70s, right? And you're still able to recall it from your unconscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's a catchphrase. If I said, I'll be back,
yes.
the Terminator, Arnold, right? Shoot, that was what, the 80s maybe?
Right.
And we're still able to recall it. So when I started studying something called ethical influence, why do we buy certain things or remember certain things, I started to apply that to business. And I realized that Hollywood does that all the time. They create catchphrases. It becomes a part of the culture. So why aren't we doing that for our business? So I started that years ago to elevate my trainings above all the other ones out there. Because if people are walking out saying, I need to go GSDF, get stuff done fast, well, who's always in the top of mind? I call it's TOMA, T-O-M-A, top of mind awareness. So I actually created that to remind my students how important it is to get off your assets. And so GSDF is all about, all the other stuff's great. No matter what you learn is great, but bottom line, you've got to get off your assets. You've got to get stuff done fast. The universe rewards speed.
Well, I think the universe rewards action as well, and speed. I was talking with Joe Vitale. He was in the movie
sure.
The Secret, and he was talking about Ho'oponopono and his work with this Hawaiian shaman. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting about speed is he was saying that when you get an idea, that idea happens in a confluence of time and opportunity. And the idea comes in, whether it's from your own unconscious, from out in the culture, or from some spiritual download that you're getting. And that at that moment in time, there's a lot of energy around that idea. And the longer you wait, put it in your someday maybe file or whatever, that by the time you eventually get to it, all that energy that was there, that was supporting that idea, a lot of it may have passed. The portal is closed, to use a science fiction term. And so I think this idea of getting stuff done fast is really important. How do you keep yourself, other than the mindset that you're going to do that, how do you keep yourself doing things fast, and how do you coach people to do that?
It's real simple. It's a phrase I learned from a friend of mine, Dan Kennedy. Good enough is good. Okay? Everybody wants to focus on, it's got to be perfect. Every period, every T's got to be crossed, right? Good enough is good. You just got to get it in motion. You can whatever your goal is, personal, financial goal, business goal, you can always go back and hone it. In our company, we have my COO actually taught me this. He is a former executive for a billion-dollar company, and he runs my companies now. And he brought this to us, which was really cool because he brought a big-time corporate mentality to our little entrepreneurial business. And he said, look, James, as a person who's a go-getter, I'm never going to do things 100% the way you want them done. So you have to understand that 80% is okay for us to get going. And I just never forgot that, because I want it perfect before we put it out in the marketplace. Good enough is good, and you got to get going. I love what Les Brown, fellow friend of ours,
Sure.
speaker, says you don't have to be great to get going, but you got to get going to be great. Mm-hmm. You just got to kind of do it. And a fellow friend of ours, Larry Wingett, when it comes to a book, I love what Larry says. He says, my ugly book is better than the one you don't have. Right? So it's all about just get it going, and you can, adjust. Look, if everything was perfect in the flight plan of a plane when it took off, that would be ideal, but it never is. And from what I understand, a plane is off
It's always
flight,
a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left, up and down.
90% of the time.
Yeah.
So just get your plane off the ground, get it going, and then you can adjust it as you go. But you got to get going.
Now, Microsoft has proven this with Windows.
Right.
You just get it out there, and then they're going to get all kind of corrections and feedback. And I think that's one of the things that you do and I do is that you start something, and then what happens is you get feedback from your participants, from yourself. It doesn't feel right or whatever.
Right.
And then you can constantly improve it as you go. But if you don't put it out there, people can't give you feedback. When we did Chicken Soup for the Soul books, we had 40 people read our books and give us feedback about the stories. Right. And then we would pick 120 or 200 of the best ones, and then we get a group of people to read those, and we get feedback. And it was out of that we produced really good books. But if we'd waited till we thought we had everything perfect, it never would have happened. So,
and something else I want to get across to anyone watching this, always anchor back to something when you started something, didn't know what you were doing, but then you started to adjust and hone the skill as you went. I always equate it to riding a bike. Mm-hmm. First time we got on a bike, we wobbled, we fell off, or like me, I rode right into a big Christmas tree because I was trying to ride in a house. But you fell off, you were uncertain, you were scared, you were nervous, you were fearful. It's like, man, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't want to get back up and do it again, I might have the same negative result. But what happened? The more you kept doing it and realized this is just kind of part of the process, all of a sudden one day, you zoomed along, and you never thought twice about it again. So always anchor back that this is just part of the process, but I have to start riding.
Well, one of the things that a lot of books like, I can't remember the name of it right now, but there's a lot of books out there on talent. And one's called The Talent Code. They talk about it takes about 10,000 hours to master something, but you got to start.
Right.
And if you don't start, you're never going to get to the 10,000 hours. I mean, I'm sure you've been on stage at least 10,000 hours by now at this time in your career, and me as well. And the first time I gave a talk, I was shaking. I mean, I literally held onto the podium, or whatever it's called, so I wouldn't run off the stage. My knees were going like this. And now you can't get me off. It's like, come on, you're done.
I know you've been speaking at my
events. I know. You did that to me. But I love to talk because I got good at it and I got comfortable with it. So you got to be willing to be uncomfortable and get through that uncomfortable stage, like learning to ride a bike, as you said. You're going to wobble for a while. But then after a while, you're, look, Mom, no hands, and you're going like that.
And let me share this with you, because I experienced this when we were filming the TV show Secret Millionaire. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize how important it is to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Mm. And what I mean by that is they show up at my house and say, okay, we're going to put you on a plane, and we're not telling you where you're going. Okay, great. I sort of sensed they weren't taking me to Hawaii when they said that, because here's what followed. You cannot take any credit cards, no money, no cell phone, no computer, no watch, No contact whatsoever. So they actually filmed me opening the drawer, putting all that stuff in there, closing it, and pretty much getting in a taxi and getting on a plane with a suitcase. And then I show up, and I'm in a ghetto, living in an apartment, and they give me my money for this week, and it's like $44.60 some. And it's for the week, not the day. And I remember how alone and isolated I felt for the first time in a long time. Because, I'm on stage around people, we've got our family, we've got our friends, and now here I am all by myself. And no television in the apartment either. I couldn't even watch anything, and in a rough area. So here I am all by myself, and I was totally uncomfortable for the first time in a long time, and scared, very scared. And the first thing I had to do was kind of calm myself down and understand this is just part of the process, and stay focused on the mission. The mission was to find amazing people in the community doing great stuff, that at the end of the week, I would reveal my identity, open up my checkbook, and start writing them checks to further their cause. So for me...
But during that week, you had to live like you lived in the ghetto, right?
Jack, I'll tell you what, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I mean, I lived on peanut butter and jelly. I got a big jug of water, and that's all I drank because I wouldn't drink out of the faucet. I mean, even the apartment, you've been to my house, I am a clean dude. People don't believe, like, you're a guy and this is your house? Like, really, you don't live here, you live across the street. This is where you bring people. But I am, like, super clean. And there are tacks and needles and nails in the carpets. And, I mean, I wouldn't take my shoes off. And I found gun clips. And, I hear people screaming at each other, like fighting across the street, screaming at each other outside. I'm like, what in the world? This is like crazy, right? And I've been so uncomfortable. And as I was reflecting back after and writing this book, one of the keys that I had to learn early was I had to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I think that's for any goal you go after. You're going to feel scared. It's going to be unknown territory. And the first thing is to say, okay, breathe. Part of the process. I'm uncomfortable, but I'm comfortable with that because I understand this is just the starting point.
Right.
So that's a very key point I had to learn.
No, it's important, being comfortable, being uncomfortable. So one of the principles I know you talk about is scheduling everything. If you want to get things done, they have to be scheduled, not just on a to-do list. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I learned a long time ago. I started thinking back to school. When you go to high school classes or college classes and you take a test, the instructor gives you a time period that you have to complete the test, like let's say 75 minutes. Okay. Well, if you're taking a test and you don't finish the test, what happens at the end of 75 minutes? You still have to turn it in. So it's amazing how you finish the test. Because you turn it in, you don't want any empty answers or unanswered questions. So I started thinking, well, why don't we run our lives like that with our priorities? And I realized something, that if I assess a time to everything I'm doing, I can get so much more done. So I started doing that. Even if I've got to call somebody back, I have sticky notes. And I'll put a sticky note, talk to Jack, 20 minutes. Okay, call Joe, should take 1 minute. And usually what I'll do is ahead of time, like on the phone, like with Joe, like let's say it's my plumber. Hey Joe, James Malinchak, just calling you back. Need to let you know I have 1 minute, so what do you need done? And I'll get it for you. And boom, he goes right to the thing he needs done. We're done with the call, I move on. Okay. If I go to Costco, by the way. I love Costco. Love that store. Okay. By the way, you want to know a bonus here? Could I over-deliver? Could I over-deliver for you right now? Best time to go to Costco? 8 o'clock Friday nights. 7, 8 o'clock. Nobody's there. It's the best time. I can pretty much tell you about my social life if I'm going to Costco on Friday nights. But like you can go in, you can get all your stuff, get out of there, and like you don't have to spend hours standing in line. It makes me... I just can't understand how like everybody will go like the stores when everybody else goes. Why? Pick the opposite time, go in, get what you need, get out of there. So
there was actually some research done about the average person spends about 2 hours a week in the grocery store.
No way.
No, seriously. They'll stop on the way home on a certain day. They go in there on a Saturday and they spend an hour like at Costco and wait in line for 20 or 30 minutes. And literally one of the things we did that got us more productive is I actually hired my niece to do our grocery shopping for us. In exchange for letting her use our van when she was going to college up here and living with us. We figured that gave us 100 additional hours a year for my wife and I, which that's like, that's 2.5 weeks, 40-hour weeks little things like that make a difference. So that while you're giving that little bonus with some humor associated with it, it's actually a good tip.
Oh, it's a very
Find
good
out
tip.
when you can do things. Like I go to the DMV. I've got to
Right.
go to the DMV. I'm there at 7:50 in the morning when they open at 8, because most people are going to come in around 9 or 10.
Right.
Get it done.
Right.
Get her done.
Get her done.
Anyway,
But like this
finish your story.
Costco. So I started thinking, okay, it's 20 minutes down. I need to spend about 20 minutes in there because I can just go get what I need. I don't have to touch everything. I just need to go get what I need. I get out of there, and it's 20 minutes back. So then I'm thinking, well, how do I leverage that first 20 minutes in the car? I can make 5 phone calls. 20 minutes in the car. If I spend X number of minutes on the phone, then I can knock out 5 calls. I go in there, get what I need to do. On the way back, I can make 5 more phone calls. I knocked out 10 calls because I assessed the time, assessed when I was going to do it. I scheduled it. Even my gym time. I go to the gym. My staff knows that every morning about 6:30, I'm at the gym. Somebody on the East Coast wants to do a call with me. Sorry, James has an appointment already scheduled. It's on the calendar. It's on my calendar. It's on the calendar for all my staff. They know that's an important part of my life and that that's scheduled and it's a meeting. Okay? I don't like to work on Friday afternoons. Block it off. James is already booked. I booked time with myself. So I schedule every little thing that I do. It goes on the calendar. It's not up here. It goes on the calendar so I can actually see it. And I assess the time with each one, like how much time I'll be spending.
Well, this is important too, because I think a lot of people, you say, oh, visit grandma. And you forget there's a 20-minute drive time. You got to schedule the drive time.
Right.
And that's great. So part of what you just said led me into something else I know you do too, which is you said there's one important word everybody needs to know. It's the word...
No.
Yes, exactly.
I train, it comes back to the skill set, mindset, thinking first. How do I leverage my time? This is what I teach to folks. How do you leverage your time? Well, you've got to actually think about how do you save time. So that's the mindset part. Then the skill set part is, what's the action I'm actually going to start trying to employ? How do I get better at it? Well, saying no, it takes time. You got to practice it. Because everybody says yes, right? Hey, would you be a member of the PTA? Yes. Hey, would you work the refreshment stand at the football game? Yes. Hey, would you do this? Yes. Hey, would you do that? Yes. Next thing you know, you got 9,000 yeses to do every week, and you have no time for yourself and no time to get things done that you need to get done. So a rule in our business is we say no to everything first. Now, that's totally contradictory to what most time management people and people teaching you how to build a business.
So if someone calls you and says, we'd like to interview James for Success Magazine, you say?
I'd say, I would love to do it.
But if it's a little paper in Oshkosh, Wisconsin or something?
Well, here's the reason, is we're very clear on what we're trying to accomplish and our goals and our mission. Okay, so I always call it putting your train on the right track. Mm-hmm. So if you know your right track of your life, right track of your business, anything that comes at it that doesn't fit on that track, you got to say no to it because it's going to waste your time. Okay? So in a position we're in now, Success Magazine calls, that's a definite yes. Jack Canfield, my good friend, calls and wants to do this. We'll fit it in, because I want to do this to serve your people, all the stuff you've done to help me over the years. But somebody calls me for an internet radio show that they're just starting and they can't tell me how many people listen. No, because we get that all the time, like I'm sure you do.
We do.
So we've trained our staff to say in a very polite way. No is an easy way to remember, but in a very polite way, no. And then whoever comes back a second time, we know they're serious, and then we listen to them and entertain the idea. I get people that want to joint venture with me all the time, especially at my seminars. So we put together a criteria. We have a little business card that has 3 things they have to do. Number 1, type up a 1-page fax with no more than 10 bullet points telling me about your idea. Number 2, fax it in. Number 3, don't contact us for 30 days. We'll get in touch with you after 30 days. Well, if they don't follow one of those 3, I'm not working with them. Because if they can't follow a simple direction in the beginning, that's a good indication of the challenges I'm going to have with them in the future. So it's always what I want them to do is I'm saying no, I'm making them jump through a hoop, do something to prove that they're serious.
Mm-hmm. Now, another thing I know you're a big stickler on is environment. You mentioned it a little earlier about being, having your environment all clean. Why is that so important in terms of getting things done?
I cannot understand how anybody can get stuff done with a cluttered environment. Because then you're thinking, well, I got these papers over here, and I got this stack over here, and I got this over here, and I got this over, and so you're focusing on bouncing around and all these incompletes, right? Not to-dos, but incompletes, that you can't hone in and focus on exactly what you need to get done. So I teach the whole, you should not have anything on your desk other than like a computer. I mean, that's what the drawers are for. I don't understand it. And you should, like, let's say you're an entrepreneur and you work out of your home. You need to separate your home. So my home office, when I walk out of those doors, I'm done and I'm in family life. I don't have business books in my bedroom. I have spiritual books and relationship books. The business books and the business stuff stays in the office, the business space.
That sounds like a book title. I don't have business books in my bedroom. I love it.
I like that.
Yeah,
hey, let's team up on that. I like that. But I think a lot of people clutter their own lives with stuff instead of making it kind of like sectioned off. So if you've got to, first of all, you got to clean also. You got to get rid of all the junk. If I haven't gone through something in 3 to 6 months, I'm not going to use it. I throw it away. 4 Ds.
Do it.
Do it.
Delay it.
Nope.
Delegate it. Delegate
do
it
it
first.
Delegate it.
Delay it or dump it. We all
Dump it.
What's your 4th D?
Don't worry about it.
Oh, don't worry. Don't worry about
Don't
it.
worry about it. In the big scheme of life, it ain't that big of a deal. So I follow the 4 Ds. Do it, delegate it, dump it, and don't worry about it. Ain't that big of a deal. Don't clutter your mind with worry. A friend of ours, Ed Foreman, said this a long time ago. Worry is nothing more than the misuse of your mind. Focusing on what you don't want to have happen rather than what you do.
Yeah. Zig Ziglar said worrying is using your imagination to create negative goals.
Ooh, that's
You're
good.
thinking about the picture of what you don't want, which your mind then says, how do we create that? Because it's just put into the GPS system of your subconscious.
That's good.
It gives you, yeah, exactly.
That's really good. I like that.
You can have it.
This is worth my entire investment of being here.
That's very good. You said something about fish being sick, which I love. Can you say that? Share that story?
I always ask when I'm speaking to corporations, colleges, my own trainings, so how many of you have fish? I mean, like in a tank, not like cut up in your freezer. But how many of you have fish in a tank? And we'll get some hands. And I'll say, when the fish are sick, how do you treat the fish? And then I say, don't tell me flush them down the toilet. And then I'll hear stuff like, take them to the fish doctor. I'm like, what the heck is a fish doctor? So nobody will usually get it. And I'll tell them, I say, well, you don't treat the fish. You cleanse the tank. You treat the water. You cleanse the environment. So how's it any different for your life? How's it any different for your home, your office? How's it any different for the people that you've let come into your life, you chose to let come into your life, who are now polluting your tank? Something I've done for probably 7 or 8 years now, and I teach in my seminars, is every December you should go through and list down everybody that you've let come into your life in the past 12 months. And it's real simple. Second column, you put a plus or a negative. Plus means that they add value to your life and enrich you and pull you up. And a negative is they tear you down and take value and energy away. And any of the negatives, just like stores at the end of the year, out with the old stuff, in with the new. Any negative sign, you're still cordial and you're polite, but I've had conversations with folks that, hey, I appreciate knowing you and all that, but we can't hang out as much, in the future here because our values and our goals aren't aligned, and I'm sort of going this way, you're going this way. So, we're still friends, but we ain't spending all the time together again.
No, I call that dropping out of the Ain't It Awful Club. And
I like that.
First time I was introduced to that idea was with W. Clement Stone. He had me do a very similar thing of putting all the names of people and then pluses and minuses. And I discovered my mother had a minus sign next to her name. Because every time I talked to her, she'd bring me down. It was really negative. She was always whining and complaining and talking about how bad things were. And I said, well, Bill, what do I do? And he said, well, Christmas and Easter, that's it. And so literally, I told my mom, I'm very busy and I don't have a lot of time and I love you and all that and I'll talk to you occasionally, but not very long. And actually, as a result of that, she started to kind of get more positive because I told her exactly what was going on. And she wanted to still have that communication.
Right.
She stepped up to the plate.
Well, let me kind of piggyback on that because that brings up something else I'm very big on. The most important word in our business, and one of the most important for our lives, is a 4-letter word. That's not the one you're thinking. No. It's time. It's T-I-M-E. And I learned this when my sister Vicky passed away of a brain tumor. She was perfectly fine, and then one day she collapsed with the side of her body paralyzed and given 3 months to live. Wow. And it's one of the stories that was written in Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul, #1. And thank you for you all putting that in there, because I've gotten over 4,000 or 5,000 letters and emails over the years from kids saying stuff like, I read about your sister Vicky dying, and I went over and hugged my mom for the first time in like 3 years.
Wow.
Or like, I'm not going to talk bad about my little brother. I know he's my little brother, and maybe we don't get along, but, he's still my little brother. So thank you all for doing that, because I never would have experienced that. But it taught me that, we could always get more money, we can always get more customers, more clients, but the one thing none of us can get is more time. And every minute you choose to give away and waste is a minute you never get back. And it taught me the value of, you've got to respect time, you've got to appreciate time, you've got to love time, you have to value time, because, next to breathing, it's like the greatest thing we have. Next to, it's the greatest thing we have. So if it's that sacred, why would you not value it and not waste it? And why would you allow negativity to fill it up? And why would you allow, the NIOPS? I heard this a long time ago somewhere, NIOPS, the negative influence of other people. Why would you allow NIOPS to creep into your life and suck your time away? Because you don't get it back, because not one of us is guaranteed tomorrow morning. So I'm just very big that you should always protect your time and only allocate time to things that are enriching your lives and not taking away from it.
No, it's very important. That is all we really have. And everyone gets the same amount. You can be born with a lot of money, but nobody gets born with more time.
You got
and
that.
I never know when it's not going to be just, I remember a couple years ago, my wife went through where was an intersection where there was supposed to be a red light. We had a power outage, and she went through it, not realizing someone was turning left, coming across the lane. And I got a call saying, your wife's been in an accident. And I don't think I've ever been more uptight and driving fast to get someplace as to where it happened. And I didn't know if she was alive or dead. I really didn't know, because it was pretty intense if you'd seen the car. And fortunately, she lived. But it just makes you realize, my God. And if you've ever, I don't know if you've ever had an operation, but I had my gallbladder removed once. And I remember waking up after the anesthesia and going, yes!
Oh, yeah.
I'm still here.
I've had many allergic reactions to anesthesia. So it was always scary when I'd get like a knee operated on from college basketball, or a shoulder, and same way. I'm like, my motto was, if I wake up throwing up, good day, because at least I woke up, because I'd rather be thrown up than not waking up and throwing up.
Yeah. You bring up this idea of time wasters, and there are so many things that can waste our time. I remember reading about a guy who actually had a wooden chair in his office, and he cut the front legs off just a little bit, and he would wax the chair really, so it was a high gloss and very slick. So anyone would sit in that chair was constantly sliding out of the chair. So whenever he was having a meeting, they just wanted to get out of there.
I couldn't figure out why I'm sliding forward the whole time here. I got it. I figured you out, Mr. Canfield.
No, one of the things that they do at the Ritz-Carlton is they have their morning meetings, and they're a 5-minute meeting, and they happen in the hall. Everyone's standing, so no one's sitting down. No one can get comfortable. And they talk about what one principle are we going to work on today to bring to our clients, that come into the hotel. But it's a 5-minute meeting every morning. Gets everyone aligned. Doesn't take a lot of time. Because you and I know meetings, you can be meeting to death.
Well, yeah, you have a meeting to find out when the next meeting is.
Exactly. So getting rid of those time wasters is a big deal.
And I'll tell you something else. I just because the Secret Millionaire journey changed my life. It really did. I thought I was going on to be some guy writing a check to people who are doing great stuff. And, now I see the whole process. Now I see why the producers don't allow you to have anything. Because it forces you to be in the moment. And it forces you to actually experience it. Because in the beginning, I'm like, well, I'm going to be in this community for a week. How the heck am I going to get to know people? And we're going to have cameras following us. So how do I know who to give? I was giving away over $100,000 of my own money. It was not sponsored money. It's my own money. And I get it now. They don't allow you to take anything because it forces you to do nothing but focus on this time with the folks. So it might only be a short week, but you're constantly thinking about it, and then your spirit's involved, and your heart's involved, and it changed my life in this manner. I learned the importance of serving. I think when we all have success in our lives, especially monetary success. I think we all start to drink some of our own Kool-Aid, or fame success with best-selling books or whatever. You start to drink some of your own Kool-Aid, and you start to forget about certain things that are really important in life. And I learned the power of giving time. These people didn't have any money, but the spirit they gave, their heart, their soul, the time to talk to people who were going through a tough time, they were giving their time. So it brought me back to realize how important our time is, and that a big portion of that time should be allocated to just serve for no other reason than doing good. Mm-hmm. Don't want anything in return, just doing good. And that week, I told the producer, at first I didn't want to do the show. I said I was not going to do it because I was concerned and very certain that they were going to bait and switch. You see all this reality TV stuff, and it's not what it's made out to be. And I said I didn't want to do the show. They came to my house, and I said, I don't want to do it. I mean, you guys are Hollywood people. And one of my friends, now good friend, who was one of the producers, got up from the chair and came around the desk and grabbed my arm and looked at me right in the eyes and said, I promise you, I give you my word, we're going to help people and we're going to serve people. We're not going to hurt them. We're not going to make you look bad. And for some reason, I believed her. I mean, she reminded me a lot of my sister Vicki, actually. And I think that's why I believed her. So I did this show still thinking, hey, I'm this guy who's successful in business, and all right, I'll just go meet some people, write some checks. And I told them this after, and I told this in the interviews, that I never thought in my life anything would come close to spending time with my sister Vicki when she was dying. That brother-sister time, and I knew I was never going to have her on earth again. Never in my lifetime did I ever think anything like that would come close. This is the second greatest thing I've ever done in my life. I mean, I met the most amazing, I call them angels. And I've said this numerous times to the people that I met, and they're still my friends. I was just back there a few weeks ago, going back, just volunteering, no cameras, none of that stuff. I said, look, I gave you all some money, but what you all did for me was worth way more than any money I gave to you guys, because you guys helped me when you didn't even know you were helping me.
How did they help you?
Just reminding that just give time and serve. It's amazing when you just serve and help somebody.
Feels good.
Yeah, just a hug. Mm-hmm. I gave there was a young girl who, I mean, Jack, you can't believe some of this stuff. Riding on a school bus, and gunfire across the street, bullets going through the bus. These kids just riding home from school. I mean, I'd never experienced anything like that. And so then I'm volunteering with the kids in an after-school program, and they're talking about it like it's nothing. I mean, I'm sitting there with my jaw dropped. I'm with 14-year-old kids going through this like they do it every day. Yeah. One little girl told me, I said, well, what's one of your big concerns, everyday living here? And she goes, oh, my little brother. And I said, well, what about your little brother? When he gets off the bus, I'm always worried that on the way home, when he's walking to the house, he'll get shot.
Every day.
I mean, and it makes you appreciate what you have. Mm-hmm. And they were so appreciative that some outsider dude was willing to lend some time to them. I mean, I was sweeping streets and cleaning up lots, and they were so, to this day, they still talk, I can't believe you helped us clean up trash lots. Oh, it transformed me like you couldn't believe. The hardest thing on that week was revealing my identity.
You had to change from where you were into something different?
They were so welcoming of me.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't understand, I was on some tough road crews where we're cleaning up, and some of these guys were in prison, just got out of prison, and it's a tough economic place. I mean, the mill shut down, which ironically they put me back in a steel mill town because I grew up in a steel mill town. And these guys are some of the most amazing people I'd ever met on this one crew. They would get paid for 2 or 3 hours of work, maybe $10 an hour, but they believed in what they were doing, trying to clean up the city so much. They'd work 8, 10 hours for free. Okay, and so I knew going in that this was a special, sacred family. And they don't just let anybody come into their crew. It might not sound like much to, us watching.
It's their sacred space,
yeah. This is very special. And the fact that they invited me in with open arms and actually welcomed me
And trusted you.
and more than anything, trusted
Yeah.
me. They were so grateful to me, helping them, because we would clean up a lot, and with my helping hands, we were able to do it faster because there was another pair of hands. So here I am at the end. I got to reveal to all these amazing people. I wasn't worried about the toughness, that some of these guys were tough street guys. I wasn't worried about that. I was worried that they wouldn't be my friend anymore. So I was very honest that I never said anything during the week that would allow me to be perceived that I was being dishonest with them. Mm-hmm. So I told, like at the end, I revealed, I just haven't told you something. I'm actually a millionaire. And then I just went into whatever, I don't even remember what the heck I said, because I just spoke from the heart about what they did to change me. And then I start handing out checks. 50 grand, 20 grand, so they can further their cause. Mm-hmm. And here's what I learned. It wasn't about the money. It was not, the money helped them. It was about two things that these folks never got: recognition and hope. I believe a lot of people have their hope tank on E. Mm-hmm. And the money just gave them hope that, what you're doing is making a difference. Sure, the money's going to pay some bills for all of you, but somebody recognizes you that you're a good person and you're making a difference. And if this is the last time you get recognized, just understand that you're doing it and you're doing great. And it gave people hope more than anything.
So let's do this. You grew up in a steel town in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I grew up in a steel town in West Virginia, not too far from you. We found that out later in life. And here we are. We're both multimillionaires and we're both very successful. And you're now a TV personality and all this good stuff.
Oh, I thought you were going to say star, and I was going to tell you, hey, I got boots on because it's getting deep.
I said personality.
Well, you were once too when you were in The Secret.
I was.
Hey, it's you, me, and Mickey Mouse now.
There we go. All three of us. You went from there and I went from there, and we're talking about taking action. Let's just end with this. You're looking at the viewer, the camera over there, and saying, okay, you guys, if I can do it, you can do it. What would you say to them to wrap this up about taking action and believing in yourself and just going from where we were, where the culture and the environment was not supporting who we are now, but we got here. Right. And if we can do it, and I really believe that, if we can do it, anybody can do it.
I will say this, that there's probably nobody that's doubted themselves more over the years than me. Because in my mind, all I kept hearing was, you're still a Milltown kid. And you made C's in school, because I wasn't a great student. But here's one of the greatest lessons that I've learned that has helped me over the years to take action. Well, two things. One is your principle, E plus R equals O. It's how you respond to certain things that happen to you in life that determine your outcome. I mean, I can't even tell you how that has helped me over the years. There's actually three things. You gave me two of them, E plus R equals O. The second is, oh, what the heck? Go for it anyway. I mean, I don't know why those things, when I attended your trainings, oh my gosh, the first one I ever went to, FSS, way back in the day. Mm-hmm. Your folks don't realize how good they got it now. We used to stay in those darn dorm rooms with no ACs.
No air conditioning.
Oh, man, I remember, I'm like, this is freaking Jack Canfield. Can't he, give us a fan?
Well, now we're in the Fairmont and all places like that. We've come a long way, baby.
I know, but we used to stay in dorm rooms. He put us in dorm rooms. So I learned a lot, obviously, but there are two things, catchphrases, if you will, E plus R equals O, and oh, what the heck, go for it anyway. And I just always think to myself, I cannot even tell you how many times I've been on stage speaking and said, well, I'm not going to offer my product package this time. I don't know if the audience is getting it or not, and I don't know if they understand this package will enrich their lives. I'm not going to offer it. And I'm literally talking, but in my mind, Jack Canfield's in my head. Oh, what the heck, go for it anyway. You didn't have it before you offered it, so if you offer it, they might get, all that stuff's going as I'm talking. And so then I'll go ahead and offer it anyway, and $400,000 in the back of the room, and all these people now helped. I'm like, gosh, what if I didn't do it? Or what if I didn't return that phone call when the producers for the TV show, called me out of the blue because someone referred me to be on this show? In my mind, it's you're a Steel Milltown kid, you failed math class, right? So the doubt is just part of the process. So remember two of Jack's principles, E plus R equals O, and oh, what the heck, go for it anyway. And there's a principle a good friend of mine, Professor Joe Martin, taught me years ago, and I'll never forget it. It says you always, he says, it's not your IQ, it's your I will.
I like that.
And I've never forgotten that. And it's become one of my favorite driving forces. So yeah, you may not be educated more than certain people. You may have grown up in a place where you didn't have all the advantages. You know, you may not be the fastest athlete, whatever it is. You know, you may not have come from the good side of the tracks. You came from the tough side of the tracks. It's not your IQ, it's your I will. And E plus R equals O is not what happens to you, it's how you choose to respond. And oh, what the heck, go for it anyway. And I will close with this. It's one of my favorite quotes from Walt Disney. If you can dream it, you can do it. So just go do it.
Very good. Thank you, my friend.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it so much.
Well, I appreciate you.